Captain Hyun stood on the bridge of Terra's Defiance, watching the stars through the wide viewing window. The ship was huge, one of Earth's newest and strongest warships. But today it felt very small. 3 days ago, they had received a message that changed everything for humanity. The message came from something called the Galactic Council. These aliens said they ruled over 400 different species across the galaxy. They had been watching humans for months, ever since Earth's first ship traveled faster than light. Now they wanted to meet, Captain, said June, walking up to him. June was the ship's chief strategist, a smart man who could see problems before they happened. I have finished reading their message again. The terms are not good. Hyun turned to face him. Tell me. June held up a data pad. They want us to give up 60% of our military ships. They want to control how many children we can have. They want to watch everything we do when we travel to other planets. If we say no, they will lock us in our solar system forever. And if we still refuse after that, they use a word that translates to pacification. I think that means they will attack us. Hyun felt anger rise in his chest. Humans had fought for thousands of years to be free. They had beaten kings, emperors, and dictators. Now aliens from space wanted to make them slaves. There is something else, Captain, June said. I have been studying how they wrote this message. They use words like for your own safety and to protect you from dangerous elements. But I think they are scared. Scared? Of us? Yes, they have ruled the galaxy for a very long time, but they have never seen a species like humans. We fight wars against ourselves and still grow stronger. We live on a dangerous planet with storms, earthquakes, and wild animals, but we call it home. Most aliens come from easier worlds. Before Hyun could answer, an alert sounded. Captain, to the communication room, came a voice over the ship's speakers. Priority message from Earth. Hyun and June hurried to the communication room. On the big screen, Admiral Mira appeared. She was a tough woman who had fought in the Mars Colony War. Behind her, they could see the flags of all Earth's nations. Hyun, Mira said, we have been in emergency meetings for 2 days. President Tae, Defense Minister Won, and leaders from every nation have been arguing about what to do. We need your report. Admiral, the aliens want us to become their slaves. They call it protection, but it is slavery. That is what we thought. How many ships do they have? June stepped forward. Based on their transmission data, we estimate they have over 50,000 warships. We have less than 200. The room became very quiet. Those numbers meant certain death for humanity if they fought. President Tae appeared on the screen next to Mira. He was an older man with gray hair, but his eyes were sharp and determined. Captain Hyun, do you think we should accept their terms? Hyun thought carefully. His whole life, he had been taught that freedom was worth any price. His grandfather had fought against dictators on Earth. His father had died protecting the colonies on Mars. Now it was his turn to choose. Mr. President, I have read about every great empire in our history. Rome, Britain, the Mongols, Nazi Germany. They all said the same thing. Surrender and we will protect you. But protection always became slavery. And slavery always became death. Defense Minister Won joined the conversation. He was a former soldier who understood war. Captain, what did you see in their message that we might have missed? Sir, they are afraid of us. They have ruled for thousands of years by making other species afraid. But we are not afraid. That scares them, explain. June held up his datapad. Minister Won, I have been studying their language patterns. They use threat words but also protective words, like a parent talking to a dangerous child. They think we are dangerous, but they also think we do not know how dangerous we are. Mira leaned forward. Are we dangerous to them? Admiral, Hyun said, every species they control accepted defeat after losing one battle. Humans have never done that. We lost millions in 2 world wars and kept fighting. We had a nuclear war and rebuilt. We had plagues that killed half our people and survived. What other species has done that? President Tae was quiet for a long moment. Then he spoke. What do you recommend, Captain? We go to their meeting, but not to surrender. What then? We go to tell them something they have never heard before. We go to tell them no. One shook his head. Captain, they have 50,000 ships. If we make them angry, they will destroy Earth. Minister, they are already planning to destroy Earth, just slowly by making us slaves. I would rather die fighting than live on my knees. Mira studied Hyun's face through the screen. She had known him for 10 years. He was not a man who gave up easily. What is your plan? We take a small fleet to their meeting. We listen to what they have to say. Then we tell them our answer, which is, humanity bows to no one. President Tay looked around at his advisors. They were all scared, but they were also angry. For months they had been preparing for this day. Ever since the first alien contact, they had known this moment would come. Captain Hyun, Tay said finally, I am giving you permission to represent Earth at this meeting. Take whatever ships and crew you need, but remember, the future of our species depends on what happens there. Yes, sir. I will not let humanity down. Good luck, Captain. And, Captain? Yes, Mr. President? Make sure they understand who they are dealing with. The transmission ended. Hyun stood in the quiet communication room with June. Outside the window, he could see other human ships moving through space. They looked small compared to the vastness around them, but they were fast, smart, and crewed by people who would never give up. June, how many ships should we take? The aliens said we could bring 5 ships maximum. I recommend we take 4 warships and 1 diplomatic vessel. No, we take 5 warships. Captain, they expect diplomats. We are diplomats. Armed diplomats, June smiled. It was not a happy smile, but a smile of understanding. I will prepare the fleet. As June left, Hyun remained looking out at the stars. Somewhere out there, aliens were preparing to make humanity kneel. They had done it to 400 other species. They thought humans would be number 401, but they had never met humans before. They did not understand that humans were the species that looked at impossible odds and said, so what? They did not know that humans were the species that fought harder when cornered. Soon, they would learn. Hyun activated the ship's communication system. This is Captain Hyun to all crew. We have been chosen to represent humanity at the most important meeting in our history. The aliens think they can scare us into surrendering. They are wrong. We are going to show them what humans do when someone tries to make us slaves. Prepare for departure. As Terra's defiance began moving toward the meeting point, Hyun felt a strange peace. He might die in the next few days. His ship might be destroyed. But humanity would know that they had tried to stay free. And sometimes trying was enough to change everything. The journey to Nexus Prime took 5 days. Captain Hyun spent those days studying everything they knew about the Galactic Council. His small fleet, 5 human warships, looked tiny next to the massive alien station that appeared on their screens. Nexus Prime was built around a dying red star. The station was so large that it had its own gravity. Thousands of alien ships moved around it like insects around a light. Hyun had never seen anything so big. Captain, said Nari, the ship's diplomat. She was a calm woman who spoke 12 languages and could read people's faces like books. I am detecting over 300 different ship designs. Each one represents a different species in the council. Next to her, Kang was working at his computer. He was the military analyst, a man who understood how armies worked. Captain, I am seeing a pattern. All these ships are old designs, very old. Some of them look like they have not been updated in hundreds of years. What does that mean? Hyun asked. It means they have not fought a real war in a long time. When armies do not fight, they get soft. Yuna, the chief engineer, looked up from her station. She was young but brilliant, able to fix anything and build weapons from spare parts. Captain, their technology is impressive but not advanced. It is like they learned how to build these things a long time ago and then stopped learning. Interesting, Hyun said. June, what do you think? June studied the data on his screens. I think we are seeing an empire that has grown lazy. They rule through fear, not through strength. A communication came through from the alien station. The voice spoke in perfect English, but it sounded cold and mechanical. Human vessels, you will follow the marked path to Docking Bay 774. Any deviation from this path will be considered an attack. Friendly people, Yuna muttered. The human ships followed the path through the massive station. Along the way, they saw incredible sights. Cities built inside the station's walls, parks with strange alien trees, and markets where dozens of species traded goods. But Hyun noticed something else. Armed guards were everywhere. This was not a free place. At the docking bay, they were met by tall, thin aliens in gray uniforms. These were Valdorians, one of the Council's military species. Their leader spoke through a translation device. Humans, you will come with us. Your weapons will remain on your ships, Hyun smiled. Of course. We are here for a peaceful meeting. But as they walked through the station, Hyun noticed that his crew kept their hands near their hidden weapons. Each of them carried small devices that looked like communication tools, but were actually powerful guns. Just because they left their obvious weapons behind did not mean they were helpless. The council chamber was enormous. It was built like an ancient Roman arena, with seats rising up in circles around a central floor. Hundreds of different alien species sat in those seats, all watching as the humans entered. At the highest point sat the most impressive alien Hyun had ever seen. It was tall with golden skin and 4 arms. Its eyes glowed with intelligence and arrogance. This was High Arbiter Vexthar of the ancient Corvani Empire. Humans. Vexthar's voice boomed through the chamber. You stand before the Galactic Council, the governing body of 417 species. For 5,000 years we have maintained peace and order in this galaxy. Hyun and his team stood quietly in the center of the chamber. They looked very small, surrounded by so many aliens, but they stood straight and proud. You are here, Vexthar continued, because your species has achieved faster-than-light travel. This means you are ready to join our council as a protected species. This is a great honor. The High Arbiter gestured, and images appeared in the air above them. They showed beautiful alien worlds, peaceful cities, and happy alien families. These are some of our member species. They have given up the barbaric practice of war. They live in peace under our protection. They are fed, housed, and cared for. All we ask in return is that they follow our guidance. More images appeared. These showed weapons being destroyed, military leaders surrendering, and crowds of aliens celebrating. The process is simple, Vexthar said. You will surrender your military forces to our control. You will accept population limits to prevent overcrowding. You will submit all expansion plans for our approval. In return, we will protect you from the dangers of the galaxy. Murmurs of approval came from the alien audience. This was clearly a speech they had heard many times before. However, Vexthar's voice became darker. If you refuse our generous offer, we will be forced to protect the galaxy from you. Dangerous species cannot be allowed to spread their violence to peaceful worlds. Images of destroyed planets appeared above them. The message was clear: surrender or die. Now, Vexthar said, you may speak. The chamber became completely silent. Hundreds of alien eyes watched the small group of humans. Many of these aliens had stood in this same spot decades or centuries ago, faced with the same choice. Hyun stepped forward. His voice was calm but clear, carrying to every corner of the massive chamber. High Arbiter Vexthar, members of the Galactic Council, thank you for this opportunity to speak. I am Captain Hyun of the Earth Defense Force, and I represent the human species. He paused, looking around at all the alien faces watching him. We have listened carefully to your offer. We understand that you want to protect us. We understand that you have done this for many other species. We understand that you believe this is for the good of the galaxy. Vexthar leaned forward slightly. This was going better than expected. However, Hyun continued, we must respectfully decline your offer. A shocked silence filled the chamber. Then angry voices began shouting in dozens of alien languages. Furthermore, Hyun said, raising his voice over the noise, we have a counter-proposal for you. The shouting stopped. This had never happened before. You can recognize humanity as a free and independent species, with full rights to govern ourselves and expand as we choose, or... Hyun paused. You can learn why every empire in galactic history has eventually fallen. Vexthar stood up, his forearms trembling with rage. You dare threaten the council? You are one species against 400. Nari stepped forward. Her voice was smooth and diplomatic, but her words were like knives. High Arbiter, we have studied your history. This council is not a governing body. It is a protection racket. Gasps came from the audience. No one had ever spoken such words in this chamber. Every species here was conquered, Nari continued. Their military leaders were killed or bought. Their people were taught to be grateful for slavery. You do not rule through strength. You rule through fear. Lies, shouted an alien from the crowd. Truth, said Kang, stepping forward. We have analyzed your military formations, your ship designs, your battle tactics. You have not fought a real war in over 1,000 years. You have no idea how to fight an enemy that fights back. Yuna joined them. Your technology is old. Your ships are slow. Your weapons are designed to frighten, not to kill. You have grown weak ruling over broken peoples. Vexthar's glowing eyes burned with fury. Guards, arrest these creatures! But Hyun held up his hand. Before you do that, you should know something. We have been recording this entire meeting. Everything you have said, everything you have shown us, is being broadcast to every human ship in the galaxy. And June added with a smile, to several other species who might be interested to learn the truth about their protectors. The chamber erupted in chaos. Aliens were shouting, arguing, and some were even fighting among themselves. In the confusion, Hyun delivered his final message. We have read your history, High Arbiter. We know how you operate. You find young species and break them before they can become strong. But you have never faced a species that fights harder when cornered. You have never faced humans. You have one choice, Nari said. Leave us alone and we will leave you alone. Try to force us to kneel, and we will show this galaxy what freedom looks like. As guards moved toward them, Hyun and his team activated their hidden weapons. The small devices in their hands suddenly became powerful guns that could cut through alien armor. We are leaving now, Hyun announced. Anyone who tries to stop us will learn their first lesson about human warfare. The guards hesitated. They had never seen such small but dangerous weapons. As the humans backed toward the exit, Vexthar screamed after them. You cannot escape. We have thousands of ships. We will hunt you down. Hyun turned back one last time. High Arbiter, you are about to learn the most important lesson in human history. We are the species that fought 2 world wars and kept fighting. We are the species that split the atom and went to the stars. We are the species that looks at impossible odds and says, so what? You want a war with humanity? You can have one. But remember, you started it. The escape from Nexus Prime was not easy. As Captain Hyun and his team ran through the station's corridors, alarms screamed everywhere. Alien guards chased them, but the humans had studied the station's layout during their arrival. They knew exactly where to go. Yuna had done something clever while they were in the council chamber. She had planted small devices throughout the station's computer systems. Now as they ran, she activated these devices with her handheld computer. Captain, she said, breathing hard as they ran, I am shutting down their communication systems. They cannot coordinate their guards or call their ships. How long will that last? Hyun asked. Maybe 20 minutes. Enough time to reach our ships and escape. Behind them, angry alien voices echoed through the corridors. Some guards were shooting energy weapons, but humans were faster and smarter. They used the station's own layout against their enemies, taking paths that the guards could not follow quickly. When they reached their ships, June was already giving orders to the other human crews. All ships, immediate departure. Set course for the edge of the system. Maximum speed. As the 5 human ships left Nexus Prime, Hyun watched the massive station on his screen. Soon, thousands of alien ships would chase them, but they had what they came for. Information about their enemies. Nari, Hyun said. Send everything we recorded to Earth. Make sure Admiral Mira gets our full report. Already done, Captain. I sent it the moment we left the council chamber. 3 days later, they reached the edge of the alien system. No ships had followed them yet, but Hyun knew that would change soon. The council would not let this insult go unpunished, Captain Kang said from his station. I am detecting a massive fleet assembling near Nexus Prime. Over 3,000 ships from dozens of different species. Who is leading them? Admiral Zolkar of the Hegemony Forces. He is one of their best military commanders, Hyun nodded. He had read about Zolkar during the journey to Nexus Prime. The alien was smart, experienced, and totally loyal to the council. If they were sending him, they meant to end this quickly. How long until they reach Earth? Hyun asked. At their fastest speed, 12 days. Then we have 12 days to prepare. The journey back to Earth was tense. Every day they received updates about the alien fleet. It was huge, bigger than anything the galaxy had seen in centuries. Ships from dozens of species all working together to crush one small human world, but they also received other news. On several council worlds there were riots. The recording of the council meeting had spread through the galaxy's communication networks. For the first time, subject species were hearing the truth about their protectors. When they finally reached Earth, Hyun was amazed by what he saw. The planet looked like a military fortress. Ships moved everywhere. Not just the warships everyone knew about, but new ships that had been hidden in secret bases. Admiral Mira met them at the orbital station. Her face was grim but determined. Captain, your message changed everything. President Tae has declared a state of emergency. Every nation on Earth is working together. What is our situation? Hyun asked. Better than the aliens think, but worse than we hoped. Defense Minister Wan will explain. Wan appeared on a communication screen from his command center on the moon. Behind him, Hyun could see hundreds of people working at computers and displaying tactical information. "Captain Hyun," one said, "we have been preparing for this day since we first detected alien signals 2 years ago. We hoped it would never come, but we were ready. How many ships do we have?" "The aliens think we have 200 ships. They are wrong. We have been building in secret bases throughout the solar system. Our real fleet is over 800 ships." Hyun was surprised. 800? How did we hide them? Yuna answered from her station. "We built them inside asteroids, on the dark side of moons, and in deep space where no one would look. We also made them look like civilian ships when seen from far away. That is still only 800 ships against 3,000, Nari pointed out. One smiled. It was not a nice smile. Numbers are not everything. The aliens expect us to fight like them. Big formations, honor rules, and predictable tactics. They have no idea how humans really fight." Kang leaned forward. "What do you mean?" "We do not fight ship against ship," Wan explained. "We fight smart. We target their supply lines, their communication systems, and their command structure. We make them afraid to sleep." President Tae joined the conversation from Earth's surface. "Captain Hyun, I want you to know that every human on this planet supports what you did at Nexus Prime. We will not bow to aliens any more than we bowed to our own tyrants." "What are your orders, Mr. President?" Hyun asked. "Survive. Win. Show the galaxy that freedom is possible." Over the next week, Earth became a hive of activity. Hidden weapons platforms activated throughout the solar system. Civilian ships were converted into warships. Most importantly, human creativity was unleashed. Yuna worked with engineering teams across the system to build new weapons. They took mining equipment and turned it into ship killers. They took communication satellites and made them into spy networks. They took everything the aliens thought they knew about human technology and threw it away. "The aliens fight with energy weapons and particle beams," Yuna explained to a group of engineers. "These are powerful but predictable. We will fight with kinetic weapons, gravity bombs, and hacking viruses. Things they have never seen before." Meanwhile, Nari worked on a different kind of weapon. Information. The recording from Nexus Prime had caused riots on 17 Council worlds. Now she was making more recordings, explaining to alien species that they did not have to live as slaves. "Every species in the Council was once free," she said in her broadcasts. "They had their own governments, their own military, their own dreams. The Council took all of that away, but it does not have to stay that way." Kang coordinated with military leaders around the world, planning the defense of Earth. But his plans were unlike anything in military history. "We will not try to stop them at the edge of the solar system," he explained to a group of admirals. "We will let them come close to Earth. We will make them think they are winning. Then we will hit them from all sides at once. That is very dangerous," one admiral said. "If we fail, Earth will be destroyed. If we fight them the way they expect, we will definitely lose," Kang replied. "Our only chance is to do something they cannot predict." Admiral Mira oversaw everything from the main command station. She had fought in 3 wars and knew that the best plans often failed in real combat. But she also knew that humans had one advantage over their enemies. They adapted quickly when things went wrong. "The aliens have been planning this attack for weeks," she told her staff. "They know exactly what they want to do. But the moment something unexpected happens, they will not know how to respond. That is when we win." As the alien fleet got closer to Earth, tension grew throughout the solar system. This would be the biggest battle in human history. If they lost, humanity would become another broken species serving alien masters. But humans had never been good at accepting defeat. From the first cave dweller who fought off a predator, to the soldiers who stormed enemy beaches, humans had always found a way to fight against impossible odds. Captain Hyun stood on the bridge of Terra's Defiance, watching the stars and waiting for the enemy fleet to arrive. Around him, his crew prepared for battle. They checked weapons, reviewed tactics, and said quiet prayers to whatever gods they believed in. "Captain," June said, "long-range sensors are detecting the alien fleet. They will arrive in 6 hours. Are you ready?" Hyun asked his crew. "Yes, sir," they answered together. "Good. Remember, we are not just fighting for Earth. We are fighting for every species in the galaxy that dreams of being free. We are fighting to prove that no one has the right to make others kneel." As the alien fleet approached, hidden human ships throughout the solar system powered up their weapons. On Earth, billions of people watched their screens and waited. In secret bases, engineers made final adjustments to weapons that had never been tested in real combat. The battle for Earth was about to begin. And the galaxy would never be the same. Admiral Zolkar stood on the command bridge of his flagship Eternal Dominion, watching the small blue planet grow larger on his screens. Earth looked peaceful and defenseless. Around him, 3,000 ships from dozens of council species moved in perfect formation toward humanity's homeworld. Admiral, his communications officer reported, "We are detecting 200 human vessels in defensive positions around their planet. They appear to be waiting for us." Zolkar nodded. This was exactly what he had expected. Young species always tried to defend their homeworld directly. It was brave but foolish. His massive fleet would overwhelm them quickly. "Signal all ships," he ordered. "Begin standard pacification protocol. Destroy their military vessels but avoid damaging the planet's surface. We want the population alive for integration into the Council." But as his fleet moved into Earth's solar system, strange things began to happen. Human ships that had been visible on sensors suddenly disappeared. Energy readings spiked from empty areas of space. Most disturbing of all, his own ships began reporting system failures. "Admiral," his tactical officer called out, "we are losing communication with the outer formations. Something is interfering with our command network." On Earth, Yuna smiled as she watched her computer viruses spread through the alien fleet's communication systems. She had spent weeks studying alien technology from the recordings at Nexus Prime. Their computers were powerful but old, with security systems that had not been updated in centuries. "Captain Hyun," she reported over the communication link, "their command structure is breaking down. Ships in the back of their formation cannot talk to ships in the front." "Excellent work," Hyun replied from his position behind one of Jupiter's moons. "Kang, begin Phase 2. Throughout the solar system, human ships that had been hiding inside asteroids and behind planets suddenly activated. But they did not attack the alien warships directly. Instead, they targeted support vessels, fuel tankers, supply ships, and communication relays. Admiral Zolkar watched in growing confusion as his perfectly organized fleet began to fall apart. Ships were running out of fuel. Supply lines were being cut. Worst of all, he was losing contact with large parts of his fleet. "This is not how they are supposed to fight," he muttered to his aide. "Young species do not use these tactics." His aide, a younger officer from the Valdorian military, looked at the tactical display with growing concern. "Admiral, perhaps we underestimated them." "Impossible. They are primitives who just learned to travel between stars. They cannot defeat species that have been spacefaring for millennia." But the evidence on his screens told a different story. Human ships appeared from nowhere, struck fast, and disappeared before his forces could respond. They used weapons his sensors could barely detect. Chunks of metal fired at incredible speeds, gravity fields that crushed ship hulls, and virus programs that turned alien computers against their own users. On the hidden command base on Ceres, Kang watched the battle unfold according to his plans. "Admiral Mira," he reported, "the enemy fleet is scattered and confused. Their formation is broken. Phase 3 can begin." Admiral Mira nodded from her command ship near Earth. "All units, Phase 3 is authorized. Show them what human creativity can do." Across the solar system, human engineers activated weapons that had never been seen in galactic warfare. Mining lasers designed to cut through asteroids now carved alien warships in half. Gravity generators meant for moving large objects now created black holes that swallowed enemy vessels. Even old nuclear weapons, ancient by galactic standards, proved devastatingly effective against alien ship designs. But the humans' most effective weapon was not technological, it was psychological. For the first time in thousands of years, the Council forces were fighting an enemy that refused to follow the rules. "They are attacking supply ships," one alien captain screamed over the emergency communication channel. "That is against the rules of civilized warfare. They are using suicide tactics," reported another. "A human ship just crashed into our fuel depot." "They are broadcasting on our emergency frequencies," said a third. "They are telling our crews that we are fighting for oppressors." Admiral Zolkar felt his perfect battle plan crumbling around him. Every assumption he had made about human warfare was wrong. They did not fight for honor or glory. They fought to win, using any method that worked. "Admiral," his communications officer said with a shaky voice, "we are receiving reports of mutinies on 12 ships. The crew members from subject species are refusing to fight humans. This was Nari's work. While the battle raged around Earth, she was broadcasting directly to alien ships, telling their crews the truth about the Council and offering them a choice: continue fighting for their oppressors or join the fight for freedom. Soldiers of the Council, fleet, her voice said over hijacked communication channels, look around you. You are fighting to enslave a free people. Your commanders tell you this is for peace, but it is for their power. You have a choice. Help us build a galaxy where all species are free, or continue to be slaves yourselves. On dozens of ships, alien crew members began to question their orders. Some were species that had been conquered by the Council only a few generations ago. They remembered what freedom felt like. The battle that was supposed to last hours stretched into days. Admiral Zolkar's mighty fleet was being picked apart piece by an enemy that refused to fight fairly. His casualty reports were devastating. Over 800 ships destroyed or disabled with minimal human losses. How is this possible? He demanded of his tactical staff. We have the superior technology. We have the numbers. His aide looked at the latest reports with growing fear. Admiral, I think we have been fighting the wrong war. We came here to fight a space battle against an inferior enemy, but they are fighting a liberation war against an occupying force. Like, what does that mean? It means they see us as invaders, not as protectors. And it means every dirty trick, every desperate tactic, every impossible risk is justified in their minds. As if to prove his point, alerts suddenly sounded throughout the flagship. Human ships had somehow appeared inside the Council formation without being detected. They were attacking from all directions at once. Captain Hyun led the attack personally, bringing Terra's Defiance and 50 other human ships in a desperate charge at the enemy flagship. This was the most dangerous part of Kang's plan, a direct assault that would either end the battle or end in disaster. All ships, Hyun broadcast to his attack force, remember what we are fighting for. Every human who ever refused to kneel, every person who ever stood up to a bully, every ancestor who died for freedom. Today we fight for all of them. The human ships crashed into the alien formation like a hammer hitting glass. Energy weapons blazed in all directions. Ships exploded and burned. In the chaos, Hyun's ship managed to get close enough to the alien flagship to deliver a special message. Admiral Zolkar, Hyun broadcast directly to the enemy ship. This is Captain Hyun of Earth. Your fleet is broken. Your ships are fleeing. Your crews are mutinying. You have two choices. Retreat now or die here. On the bridge of Eternal Dominion, Admiral Zolkar stared at the human captain's image on his screen. The alien commander had fought in dozens of campaigns, conquered multiple star systems, and never lost a battle. But now he was facing something he had never encountered before, an enemy that would rather die than surrender. You cannot defeat the Council, Zolkar said through gritted teeth. We rule 400 species. You are only one. Admiral, Hyun replied, you ruled 400 broken species, but you cannot break us. And now we are teaching the galaxy that broken things can be fixed. As if to prove his point, reports began coming in from across Council space. The recordings of the battle were being broadcast throughout the galaxy. On dozens of worlds, subject species were rising in rebellion. The Council's perfect order was collapsing. Admiral Zolkar looked around his bridge at his terrified officers. Outside his ship, the once mighty Council fleet was scattered and running. Less than half his ships were still fighting, and many of those were dealing with internal rebellions. For the first time in his long military career, Admiral Zolkar gave an order he had never imagined speaking. All ships retreat to the outer system. We will regroup and reassess the situation. As the alien fleet pulled back, leaving hundreds of destroyed ships floating in space, cheers erupted from human vessels throughout the solar system. They had done the impossible. They had defeated a vastly superior enemy force. But Captain Hyun knew this was not the end. It was only the beginning. The Council would not accept this defeat easily. They would return with an even larger force, and next time they might not care about keeping Earth's population alive. Admiral Mira, he reported. The enemy is retreating, but this is not over. I know, Mira replied. Intelligence reports are coming in from across the galaxy. The Council is mobilizing their most powerful weapons. They are bringing planet killers. The celebration in the human fleet suddenly became quieter. Planet killers were weapons so powerful they could destroy entire worlds. The Council had banned their use for thousands of years, but desperation was making them consider the unthinkable. "How long do we have?" Hyun asked, unknown, but probably not long. "They cannot let this rebellion spread." As Earth's defenders began preparing for an even more T-High arbiter, Vexthar stood in the emergency session of the Galactic Council, his forearms shaking with rage. Around him, representatives from hundreds of species argued in panic. The impossible had happened. Humans had defeated Admiral Zolkar's fleet and inspired rebellions across 17 worlds. "Silence," Vexthar roared, his voice echoing through the great chamber. "The situation is under control. One victory does not win a war." But even as he spoke, reports continued coming in. On Valdoria Prime, the military was fighting rebels in the streets. On Hegemony Central, 3 colonies had declared independence. Worst of all, some council species were beginning to question why they needed protection from such a primitive species. "High Arbiter," said the representative from the Corvani Empire, "perhaps we should negotiate with the humans. Their victory proves they are not as weak as we thought." "Negotiate?" Vexthar's glowing eyes burned brighter. "We do not negotiate with rebellious children. If we show weakness now, every species in the galaxy will think they can defy us." In the back of the chamber, older council members whispered among themselves. They remembered the last time the galaxy had seen such widespread rebellion. Over 5,000 years ago, during the Great Liberation War. That conflict had nearly destroyed galactic civilization. "What do you propose?" asked the Valdorian representative nervously. Vexthar's voice became cold and deadly. "We use the ancient weapons, the planet killers that ended the last galactic war. We destroy Earth completely, and we broadcast the destruction to every world in the galaxy. Let them see what happens to those who defy the Council." A shocked silence filled the chamber. The planet killers had been forbidden for millennia. They were weapons of ultimate destruction, capable of turning entire worlds into dust. "High Arbiter," an elderly council member said slowly. "Those weapons were banned for good reason. If we use them, we become no better than the ancient tyrants we once fought against." "We are already tyrants," Vexthar replied. "The only question is whether we are successful tyrants or dead ones." The vote was close, but fear won over conscience. The council authorized the use of planet killers against Earth. Admiral Zolkar would lead the mission personally, commanding the most destructive fleet ever assembled. Meanwhile, on Earth, President Tay sat in his emergency bunker, reading intelligence reports from across the galaxy. The news was both wonderful and terrifying. Humans had inspired the greatest rebellion in galactic history, but they had also made the Council desperate enough to use weapons that could kill planets. "Mr. President," Defense Minister Wan said, entering the bunker with Admiral Mira and Captain Hyun, "we have confirmed intelligence about the planet killer fleet. They will arrive in 8 days. "How many ships?" Tay asked. "Over 100, including 12 planet killers. Each one of those weapons can destroy Earth's surface completely." President Tay looked older than his years. The weight of humanity's survival rested on his shoulders. "Can we stop them?" "Not with conventional weapons," Wan admitted. "But we may have another option." Captain Hyun stepped forward. "Sir, we have been in secret contact with rebel groups across the galaxy. The battle here inspired them, but they need more than inspiration. They need weapons, tactics, and coordination. What are you suggesting?" Admiral Mira activated a holographic display showing the galaxy. Red dots marked Council strongholds while blue dots showed rebel activity. The pattern was clear. The rebellion was spreading, but it was not coordinated. "We propose to do something that has never been done before," Mira said. "Instead of waiting for them to attack us, we attack them everywhere at once." President Tay studied the display. "That is impossible. We do not have enough ships to fight the entire galaxy." "We do not need ships," Hyun explained. "We need ideas. For months, Nari has been broadcasting to subject species, teaching them about human tactics and technology. Now we take it further." Nari appeared on a communication screen from her hidden broadcast station. Behind her, Yuna was working on something that looked like a massive computer. "Mr. President," Nari said, "we have been developing a way to share human military technology instantly across the galaxy. Every rebel group will have access to our weapons designs, our tactical knowledge, and our communication networks." "How?" Tay asked. Yuna looked up from her computer. "We are going to hack the Council's own communication system. Every message they send, every order they give, will carry hidden data packets containing human technology and rebellion plans. The Council will notice and shut it down, Juan pointed out. Not if they are too busy fighting for their lives, Kang said, joining the conversation from his tactical center. Mr. President, we have identified the exact moment to strike. When the planet killer fleet arrives here, every Council world will be watching. That is when rebellions across the galaxy will begin at the same time. President Tay was quiet for a long moment. This plan was incredibly dangerous. If it failed, not only would Earth be destroyed, but the rebellions would be crushed and billions of beings would suffer under even harsher Council rule. What are the chances of success? He asked. Unknown, Hyun answered honestly. This has never been tried before. But sir, we are going to lose anyway if we just wait here. At least this way we have a chance to change everything. Tay looked around at his advisors. These people had already achieved the impossible by defeating Admiral Zolkar's fleet. If anyone could pull off such a desperate plan, it was them. Do it, he said finally. Send the signal to begin galaxy-wide rebellion. For the next week, Earth became the center of the largest conspiracy in galactic history. Human engineers worked with rebels on distant worlds to build weapons and plan attacks. Human tacticians taught alien freedom fighters how to strike at Council weak points. Most importantly, human determination inspired species that had given up hope centuries ago. When the planet killer fleet finally arrived at Earth, they found something unexpected. Instead of a desperate last stand, they found a planet that seemed almost calm. Human ships took defensive positions, but they made no attempt to flee or negotiate. High Arbiter Vexthar had come personally to witness humanity's destruction. From his command ship, he broadcast to Earth one final message. Humans, you have caused enough trouble. Your planet will be destroyed as an example to the galaxy. Your species will be remembered as a cautionary tale about the price of defying order. Captain Hyun responded from Terra's defiance. High Arbiter, you're about to learn the most important lesson in galactic history. Freedom is not something you can destroy with weapons. Your freedom ends today, Vexthar replied. No, Hyun said. Today, freedom begins. As if those words were a signal, chaos erupted across the galaxy. On Nexus Prime, rebel forces seized control of the main communication center. On Valdoria Prime, the planetary government declared independence. On dozens of worlds, species that had been enslaved for centuries rose up against their oppressors. But most importantly, Yuna's virus had infected the Council's entire communication network. Every planet killer ship suddenly found its targeting computers compromised. Their weapons systems began shutting down one by one. What is happening? Vexthar screamed at his technical staff. Sir, we are losing control of our weapons. Some kind of computer virus is spreading through our systems. Admiral Zolkar, commanding the planet killer fleet, tried desperately to maintain order, but his ships were being attacked not just by human vessels, but by other Council ships whose crews had mutinied. Admiral, his communications officer reported, we are receiving surrender messages from 47 rebel worlds. They are declaring independence and asking Earth for support. On Earth, President Tay watched the reports flooding in from across the galaxy. The rebellion was succeeding beyond their wildest hopes. But the battle was far from over. Mr. President, Captain Hyun reported, the planet killers are still functional. If even one of them gets through, Earth is finished. Then we stop them, Tay replied simply. The final battle was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Human ships outnumbered 100 to 1, charged directly at the planet killers. They knew they would probably die, but they also knew their sacrifice would save their world and inspire the galaxy. But they were not alone. Ships from dozens of rebel species had managed to reach Earth. Former Council vessels now flew alongside human fighters, their crews fighting for freedom instead of oppression. In the chaos of battle, something impossible happened. High Arbiter Vexthar's own flagship was boarded by a mixed crew of humans and aliens working together. Captain Hyun led the assault personally, fighting his way to the command bridge. When Hyun finally faced Vexthar in single combat, the ancient alien still could not believe what was happening. This is impossible, Vexthar gasped as Hyun's weapon found its mark. We have ruled for 5,000 years. How can primitives defeat us? Because, Hyun said as the High Arbiter fell, you forgot the most important rule in the universe. No one stays on top forever. With Vexthar's death and the destruction of the planet killer fleet, The Galactic Council collapsed. Across hundreds of worlds, species declared their independence. The age of enforced galactic order was over. 6 months later, representatives from over 200 species gathered on Earth for the first GAL,